insurance comes with a lot of terminologies, a lot of things that are unfamiliar to you possibly. Fleet insurance is just like your car insurance. Therefore, many of you have had some experiences with needing to process a claim with your insurance, your auto insurance carrier, and therefore you have a little bit of understanding of some of the terminologies and some of the kinds of things that take place.
What is auto insurance? Auto insurance protects you financially in case you have an accident. Auto insurance is really a contract between you and the insurance company. And in that contract, you agree to pay a premium every month, and the insurance company agrees to pay you if you lose your car or if you have bodily injury in an accident. There are many different types of coverages that you can have when it comes to auto insurance. The first, and one of the most important types, is collision, which is generally protection of your car. So in other words, if you get in an accident or if somebody else hits you, whatever the damage is on your car, the collision portion of your policy will pay to repair your car. And often, collision policies will also provide you with a loaner car, a rental car. The second major type of protection when it comes to auto insurance is liability. And so this protects you in your liability in case you hit somebody else. Let's say you damage property, or if you damage somebody else's car, if it's your fault in an accident, then the liability portion of your auto insurance policy will cover that and pay the other party for your damages, the damages that you have caused. And the third type of coverage that you can get with auto insurance is comprehensive. And comprehensive is what covers you in case of fire or theft. So this is generally known as not-in-motion coverage. In other words, if something happens to your car when you're not driving it, if it should catch fire, or even if something should drop on it while it's sitting in your garage and you get a scratch, or vandalism, or any other type of theft or acts of malice, generally comprehensive will cover that within your auto insurance policy.
What's the best way to hold your coverage, vehicle coverage down? Don't have an accident. The same thing is true with the buses. And by the way, in a school's fleet coverage, they are covering all of the moving items. If you have a van, if you have tractors, if you have other kinds of equipment, moving equipment, typically they will cover those kinds of vehicles as well. So if a school has a clean record of situations with their bus drivers, they're going to pay less than if there have been a number of claims. One of the good things about the bus is one of the safest vehicles on the road, according to a number of different sources, and they're built fairly handily.
Uninsured motorist coverage is arguably the most important coverage that you buy when driving a car here in the state of Florida. The reason why it's really important to have uninsured motorist coverage on your cars, and I would add, you have the opportunity to make sure it's stacked uninsured motorist coverage. When you go to your agent and they give you a form to sign, make sure that you do have uninsured motorist coverage equal to your bodily injury limit, and that you have stacked, which means it can be added for each car. It also can go with you wherever you go. If you're on a bus or with somebody else's car, on your bicycle or pedestrian, and you're struck by someone who doesn't have any insurance or doesn't have enough insurance to compensate you for your medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering, then uninsured motorist coverage is important because that's where you're going to go for that compensation. The problem in Florida is that Florida law at the present time doesn't require people to carry insurance that covers the other person's injury if they're at fault. So I would say approximately 25% of the people that drive in the state of Florida have no bodily injury liability insurance, which is the insurance that we wish they had if they're at fault for an accident, they hurt someone else, to compensate that person. That's the reason why uninsured motorist coverage is really, really important to have. And I strongly encourage anybody listening to this to immediately check their policy, call their agent, and make sure they have stacked uninsured motorist coverage on their policy. It goes with not only them, the named insured, but any resident relative in their household, their children, or any other relative that lives with them. So it's really important to protect you and your family.
Of course, these rules are state-driven, state laws. Here in Ohio, we require coverage. Does that mean everybody has coverage? No. Unfortunately, there are lots of people out there driving without licenses. They are driving without licenses. They don't have coverage, more than likely. Therefore, that would be an issue. You are an administrator, and you have just received word that one of your buses with some of your children on it have been in an accident. Who would like to step forward and give me an idea? What are you going to be doing? And by the way, I understand that you are learning. Unfortunately, I've had the experience of going through this 3 times. So, experience, I made some mistakes and I did some things right. What things come to mind? Go ahead, Kelly.
Call the police.
Okay. The police are going to get called.
Okay.
They're going to be called. You might call them. Some bystander might call them. They're going to be arriving on the scene. There's probably some things that are a little bit more important than calling the police.
So if you're a principal, call the superintendent.
Yes, if you're the principal and you got the call the superintendent. Definitely.
You need status right away, but you have to call the parents. Parents need to know immediately.
And I want to back
I
up.
mean, superintendent too.
Yeah.
Parents.
Yes. There's a step I think you want to take before you get to that point.
Go to the scene?
Got to be on the scene. When we had this occur in our district, principal was on site, superintendent was on site. We aren't ready for you yet. Those individuals were all on site. My bus mechanic was on site. My transportation supervisor, we were all on site. And while on site, what are you concerned about? What's the most important concern here?
Yeah, injuries.
Yes. What are the injuries? What are the injuries? Are there injuries? And of course, the E-Squad's going to come and they're going to be checking out those individuals that need additional treatment, additional care. Fortunately, in 2 of the 3 situations, there was no one injured. And so therefore, we took the next step. What would you say would be the next step then, if there are no injuries?
Who's, what was over
No, go ahead.
Just who's liable? I mean, what happened?
Okay.
Like, the bus hit someone else, and they run a traffic?
And the one thing that I would say to you is that even though, as superintendent, I was on site, who's managing this situation? Who's the primary manager? The police is primary managers, EMTs, they're managing the situation much more than the building principal. Why do you think I wanted to have that building principal there?
They know all the kids.
They know the kids. As superintendent, I did not know the kids. Now, that's another thing that you hope you have a manifest. Hopefully you know who should be on the bus. Because, as in our case, the bus driver was hurt. The kids weren't hurt, but the bus driver was hurt. And if the bus driver is incapacitated, they can't tell you who's on that bus. And so therefore, you've got to know who's on the bus. I think that after you know who's on the bus, and you know the status of those individuals on the bus, then I think you are in a position to notify parents. In the meantime, in today's world, Facebook and everything else, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on with parents. There are probably going to be parents on the scene. And you've got to make sure that that's handled with proper decorum and honoring the parents, but yet still making sure that everything is orderly. And you've got to get we got another bus there. You've got to get those students back to school, most generally. Now, if they're shaken up, we might allow them to go home with their parent, if their parent would be there. Kind of an instantaneous call on that one. You have to decide what that's going to look like. Okay, so we've taken care of the kids. By the way, the bus driver went to the hospital, and Ohio law requires that that bus driver be tested for drugs and alcohol. They have to submit a test, and that has to be taken care of. In the meantime, they were treated, and eventually they were released. From there, now what? So the police have taken the reports. It's been decided whose fault it was. In one case, it was the bus driver's fault. In the other case, it was not the bus driver's fault. And
Or the insurance company.
yeah, somebody's got to place that claim. That could be the treasurer. That could be the superintendent. That could be a business manager. Probably not the principal. Probably not the principal. In my situation, I was responsible for processing all the claims. And we contacted the insurance carrier. In the meantime, they are getting the police report. So they've got the police report. And I can't remember what our deductible was, but the bus mechanic decided that the deductible, it wasn't worth us having somebody fix it. He could fix it himself, and so the other thing you have to do is you got to take care of the vehicle, right? So it was towed back to the garage, the bus garage, and ultimately he fixed it, and it had to be re-inspected in order to be roadworthy again. But you process that claim just like you would otherwise if you were involved in an accident. In the meantime, there might be questions as far as the investigation is concerned, and maybe not. The third one, thank God I wasn't the superintendent, because we had 2 deaths on Route 22. I refused to drive that road today. Basically, the individual was actually transporting children in a school car. I'd hired the guy about a month prior to this. He was driving 22, taking kids home. If you know that route, it goes back and forth, and a truck came left of center and hit them head on. And how tragic is that? And like I said, I wasn't the superintendent at that particular point, but a very, very trying time for the superintendent, for the Board of Education, and the individuals of the school district.